Warning, this video contains team selection and captain choices which some viewers may find offensive. Following a pretty disastrous game week 7, where my team picked up an abysmal 44 points, it was clear that drastic changes were needed. So, having pondered over my side an obscene amount the last week, I now have a first draft of my wildcard team, which I'll talk you guys through now. It's by no means the finished article, but this is what I have so far. Rob Elliott of Newcastle keeps his place in my side, and Fabianski replaces Ben Foster. Still a cheap pairing of goalkeepers, but it's always nice to have that extra bit of cash to spend elsewhere. Elliott is just a no-brainer for me really, considering he's the first choice goalkeeper at Newcastle and at such a minuscule price. He's the only Premier League goalkeeper below that 4.5 million mark who's actually getting minutes for his team, so a good rotation option at the very least, even if he does just warm the bench. As for Fabianski, well, Swansea's run of fixtures look fairly decent on paper, so I believe that rotating these two goalkeepers for the foreseeable future does have the potential to pick up a few clean sheets along the way. I won't be expecting the world from these two, but a decent pair considering their low price. Now, my defence in this draft is looking far more formidable than it did in my previous team. My old side consisted of bench players that weren't even featuring for their sides, so I was keen this time to bring in some cheap options that are actually getting minutes. So budget options Martina and Stephen Ward offer me more rotation options throughout the next few weeks, and also enable the possibility to play 4 or 5 at the back, something I'm yet to do all season. Unfortunately, Arsenal's Kolasinac makes way for now, with a tougher set of fixtures to come, and in comes Ben Davies and Cedric. Ben Davies just seems an absolute must-have at the moment, notching up 2 goals and 2 assists from defence in the opening 7 game weeks. He's top on chances created by some way for his position and sits second for goal attempts, so his underlying stats look fantastic too. With Bournemouth at home next, I don't want to go another game week without the Welsh defender. Cedric's underlying stats also look good, currently sitting in the top 5 for goal attempts, touches in the final third, and touches in the opponent's penalty area. With Newcastle, West Brom, Brighton and then Burnley in his next 4 fixtures, at just a reasonably priced 5 million, I'm really liking the look of Cedric for weeks to come. Notably, Marcos Alonso retains his place in my side at the moment. I was very tempted to downgrade the 7 million rated defender, as it's certainly a very big outlay for someone who hasn't been delivering recently. But Chelsea's fixtures significantly improve in the next few weeks, playing Crystal Palace, Watford and then Bournemouth in his next 3. So a huge point haul could be on the cards for Alonso in these weeks, and after owning him since the beginning, I just don't want to miss out on that chance now. If he doesn't deliver in these next 3 weeks, then I'll certainly be looking to downgrade then. Speaking of Chelsea's improving fixture list, a huge differential has made its way into my midfield for this wildcard draft, owned by just 3.5% of fantasy managers. That player being Eden Hazard. Following Chelsea's defeat to Man City, Antonio Conte will demand a response, and there's no better opportunity to do that than against current whipping boys Crystal Palace. Due to injuries, Hazard has hardly featured so far this season, so you could say it's a bit of a gamble, but we're talking about a top talent here, and after playing a full 90 minutes for Belgium during the internationals, he's surely close to full fitness now, and is hopefully set to come back and fire on all cylinders again. Without Morata to score the goals for Chelsea, I'm hoping that Hazard can step up to the plate and deliver some big points in the coming weeks. Man City also boasts some excellent fixtures in the next few game weeks, particularly with Stoke and Burnley to play at home next. And their current form is also hard to ignore. So as it stands, I've packed my midfield with 2 of their players, David Silva and Raheem Sterling. David Silva has rolled back the years so far at the start of this season, already racking up 6 assists for his efforts, and seems to be one of the very few nailed-on starters at the moment. Raheem Sterling, on the other hand, is a little more questionable because of his inconsistent game time, but he started the last 3 games, has 5 goals for the season already, and his very inviting price tag of just 7.9 million is extremely tempting. He's one of the players that may not make it into my final team because I am torn whether to keep him or opt for a Man City defender instead. The rest of my midfield is filled with some bargain players. Tom Carroll, who's a 4.5 million starter for Swansea. He probably won't really feature in my side, but it's nice to have an option from the bench that is actually starting games in real life. Pascal Gross currently retains his place in my team, mainly due to lack of funds, and to be fair, there's not many better options appearing at his price range or lower. Come the game week deadline, he's certainly no guarantee to make it into my side, but as I said, there's not many better options, and he does have a healthy looking fixture list coming up, so he could chip in with a few points here and there. As mentioned earlier, Man City's fixtures are very hard to ignore for the foreseeable future, as in the next 8 game weeks, they only play one side in the top 6. They've scored 17 goals without reply in the last 4 games, and therefore the triple up for Man City players in my FPL side is looking an exciting prospect. And because of this, Jesus makes it into my forward line. It was only a few game weeks ago that Jesus was being ditched by fantasy managers, and rightfully so, with limited playing time and many other premium forwards seeming like better options. However, with the likes of Morata, Aguero and potentially even Lukaku injured, Jesus all of a sudden becomes a viable option again. So as of right now, I'm feeling pretty positive about him being in my side. There's not much that needs to be said for Harry Kane, who since the beginning of December has scored an obscene amount of goals for club and country. Tottenham's next 2 games are to be played at Wembley, where Spurs haven't exactly been at their best, so there's always that slight bit of concern with their home form. However, I think it'd take a brave man not to own Harry Kane for game week 8, where they face a pretty leaky Bournemouth side. And that leaves me with the last of my 15-man wildcard squad, Newcastle's Joselu. A very cheap and affordable option here, who won't feature every week for my side. With better options now in defence, it's likely that I'll be experimenting with a 4-4-2. However, Newcastle do have some decent looking fixtures on the horizon, with Southampton, Palace, Burnley and Bournemouth to play in their next 4. Joselu now has 2 goals for the season, and his stats have been okay, so not a bad 5.5 million option that's enabling me to spread more money throughout my side. So that's where my wildcard is at currently. Make sure to let me know what you guys think in the comments, and any improvements that you think need to be made. Notably, there's no Liverpool and United options within this draft, so that's my biggest concern, but with fixtures getting a bit more difficult for those two in the next few weeks, I was a little bit put off by them. Not owning one of Mane, Salah and Coutinho is certainly a bit of a risk, and not owning Lukaku of United is a huge gamble, considering his massive 60% ownership. But I've had to sacrifice someone to improve my defence, and right now, I'd take Kane over Lukaku. Hopefully this doesn't come back to punish me, and ultimately you've got to go with your gut in FPL, and for some reason I just wasn't feeling Lukaku for the next few weeks. As I said, this is not the final team, so I've no doubt that I'll be having plenty of headaches before that game week deadline, but this is where I'm at now, and I'm quite liking the look of this side so far. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to drop a like and get subscribed to FPL TV for weekly FPL videos, and I'll be back very shortly this week for the next episode of Point Predictor, and potentially a further video where I talk about my final Game Week 8 team. Good luck to you all for Game Week 8, and remember, FPL responsibly.